There it is. Hey guys, it's Dave Duford here. Thanks for joining me yet again on another hopefully informative, even more so hopefully useful, no BS final expense training session. Thank you so much again for joining me. My name again is Dave Duford. I'm the owner of Final Expense Agent Mentor at feagentmentor.com, where I try to help new agents across the nation become the best they can be in the final expense business. So do lots of free training stuff like the one you're seeing now, live streaming across the nation on YouTube. And in today's topic, we are going to be talking about 5 appointment setting strategies that really work. So as I discussed in the promotional video, if you're a guy or an agent out there trying to get better at setting appointments and you're looking for tips and tactics to make that so, this is going to be a perfect training session for you. I'm going to talk about relevant and actionable training that you can put to work right away to help you set better appointments, more appointments, and just to really get more results out of your attempts. Also, if you feel like you're struggling with appointment setting, this is perfect for you as well, because again, the whole idea behind this training is to help you become better at setting appointments. And then before we get started, I wanted to notify everybody, in case you haven't heard already, I have just started a new lead-based program which is available for my final expense agent mentorship agents, as well as agents who aren't a part of the mentorship program. And what I'm doing is developing leads right off of Facebook. So if you're familiar with Facebook, aren't we all? I'm placing ads for customers of mine. Again, they can be agents working with me. They don't have to be, though, where we place ads specific to burial insurance prospects and help them solicit themselves so that we can go solicit them. So, so far so good. It's working great. I've had fantastic results. I just did a video live stream, I think Friday or Thursday last week, so check that video out if you haven't already. If you go back to my page on YouTube and then you click on, I think it's videos, you'll see 1 or 2 down, you'll see the video. Check it out if you haven't already. It's pretty easy to order. The leads start within 1 to 2 business days after ordering them, and I think they're equivalent quality to direct mail without all that money required to get started with direct mail and all the time to wait as well. So check it out if you haven't. Again, that's Facebook Final Expense Leads. So let's get started today. In today's training, we are going to be talking about appointment setting strategies that work. And without further ado, let's jump into the first tactic. So first thing I want to talk about, and again, let me kind of preface this whole training today. This is more of a big picture look at what makes an effective appointment setting strategy. We're not going to get super specific in the scripts. I'm more than happy to if you'd like me to. If you'd like to ask a question, there should be a comment box. You're more than welcome to ask a question, or if I need to clarify something that I mentioned here regarding appointment setting or scripts or rebuttals, objections, ask away. I'll be happy to address each and every question specifically. I like to do that. That's how, in many ways, I give the best value to the people who are watching. So feel free to ask away. So point number 1 is calling times. And this is pretty important because, especially if you're brand new, there are ideal windows of opportunity to get out there and call to set appointments. Now, the thing is that it really doesn't matter. Well, I should say, every time sun up, sun down is a good time to set appointments. However, if you're asking me what are the best times, then here's what I would give you as far as the ideal times that you really want to focus on setting appointments. So if you're calling Monday through Friday, the best time in the morning is right at 9 o'clock to 11. Maybe even 9 to 12 works fine as well. Definitely 9 to 11. And then in the evening time, which is the best time to call overall during the week, is between 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock. So why is that the case? So first of all, you're going to catch people who are just getting started between 9 and 11, and you're going to catch people who've been out all day, who've been doing other stuff besides being home between 6 and 9. There's just a lot of things that happen during the middle of the day that tends to make it a little more difficult to get people on the phone. So make sure that you're calling primarily in those times when you are setting appointments. I will say this too, I've had some success calling actually between 8:30 and 9. Even earlier than 9 seems to be just as effective, even if not more so. So if you're really down to the last bit of your leads and nobody's picking up, try calling between 8 and 9. A little bit early, But hey, you got an excuse. You tried them 25 other times during the other primary times and then pick up. So hey, what do you got to lose if they haven't picked the phone up? If you're calling on Saturday, Saturday's a really good time to set appointments. People are generally in a better mood. It's the weekend. And most people are reachable between 10 o'clock and 12. That's probably the best time of the entire day to call before it just gets a little bit more difficult. And then lastly, Sunday, if you want to talk and call to set appointments on Sunday, 4 to 8 o'clock is the prime time. I know a very good producer that trains a large agency nationally that every Sunday sits down between 4 and 8. The setup is Monday to get 10 appointments, and it works well. Nobody screams at him saying it's Sunday, that they're doing something bad or sinful. Doesn't really matter. You're just going to call these people and set an appointment. So it's not something that is going to cause a lot of problems or burn bridges with people you're calling on. So I wouldn't really worry much about it. So call times are important. Make sure you're doing that if you aren't already. And the one thing I'll expand on is within those call times, if all you've got is a short stack of leads, maybe 15 or 20, you should be able to get through 15 to 20 leads in 30 to 45 minutes, if not sooner. Call through them again and then again. Even within that 9-11 period or 6-9 period, if you've got to call them 3 or 4 times repetitively, please do it. Because what will happen is they'll start seeing your number and realizing you may be somebody worth talking to. Sometimes it takes a few times for somebody finally picks up the phone saying, I give up. I'm tired of trying to avoid whoever's calling. So keep that in mind. Don't just give up. Keep going until that 2-hour block or 3-hour block is done and over with. Okay, so number 2 here is sell the appointment, not the product. Now, I had a pretty good conversation today. I was doing a training session earlier between 10:30 and 11:30 with my agency. We do it every Monday, pick a topic, go into detail about it, and then I answer questions that my agents have. And one agent in particular, his name's Harvey. If you're on, hey Harvey, how you doing? He asked me, Dave, I'm calling these guys up on the phone and they all have insurance. What do I do? Essentially is what he said. So the key thing here is that that's an issue that you will always run into as agents. In fact, it's a good issue. We want people who are already paying for insurance because in many cases we can get them better coverage, and we don't need to sell them on, hey, you got to set aside all this money every month to get this, so they're already sold on paying for it. It's just they need to be sold on what we do as a better deal than what they've got, but we got to get in the door first. So that's why we have to sell the appointment. We have to sell the ease of the appointment. We have to sell how low pressure it'll be, how it's just a 5-minute appointment. That's not going to take a lot of time, that it's, hey, it's no big deal. We really want to sell that aspect of it and make sure that they understand that it's quick, it's painless, it's easy, there's no heartache or harassment necessary, that you're just doing your job and you'll be out as quickly as you come in, so that they'll agree to see you. Because again, that's where all the magic happens, is in the appointment. That's where the sales is made. That's where selling yourself is done. But the goal is you got to get in the door first. So the goal with final expense, setting over the phone, appointments over the phone, is getting in front of as many warm bodies as possible. Again, top producers will pretty much all tell you that many of their sales come from replacements. I've seen guys claim as much as 75% of their sales are replacements. For me, it's probably about 25%. But there's guys, like I said, much, much higher. And so many times you won't get those appointments if you don't set the appointment anyway, knowing that you may be running into a person who already has insurance. So you got to keep that in mind. It's very important to sell that appointment, even if they say they've got insurance or there's some excuse that's on there. You don't want to sell what it is we're selling, because what we're really selling isn't the company. It's not the burial insurance. What we're selling first is us. And so by that sale that's made, building trust and rapport, and building the showing our expertise, that's where the sale was made. What company and the insurance is an afterthought. Of course, the need needs to be there, but that is done most effectively in person with the prospect. So I'm not saying that pre-qualifying doesn't work over the phone, but it's likely that for beginners that you'll probably miss replacement opportunities. And you don't have so many leads that's an easier proposition to avoid. Again, you've got usually a limited number of leads, 20 to 30. Get out in front of as many as you can, to see as many as you can, because there are going to be replacement deals where that prospect would have said, I've got insurance, I'm fine. But because you pressed forward, sold the appointment, made it not a big deal, now you've saved them money, they're very happy, and so are you, making a sale that you otherwise wouldn't have. How to sell the appointment. So yeah, let's go over the script on how to do that. It doesn't matter what objection they give you. It doesn't matter what you say. There's always a process in the system of setting an appointment. So I'm going to teach you the process of selling the appointment. So this assumes like they've objected, you've rebutted, you've given just a basic reason why. What you say after that to sell the appointment is always the same. You sell the ease of it, you make it real short and simple, you make it low obligation, and then you close. You have to do all of that within that short period of time you got. And here's what you say. You say, Mrs. Jones, hey, that's fine. In fact, most people I see already have insurance, and the reason they meet with me anyway is because they're shocked at seeing what kind of deal we can do for themselves, and many times getting them something totally different and better than what they have. Here's where the selling comes in. All I need is 5 minutes to show you what this is all about. What you do with it, Mrs. Jones, is totally up to you. If you like it, great. If not, that's fine. What you do with the information is up to you. How's Tuesday at 2 or would 10 be better? So I sold it, I closed, and I assumed one of the other appointments. I kind of went over in detail on selling it. You could even just say, all I need is 5 minutes, Mrs. Jones. Look, bottom line, what you do with the information is totally up to you. Would 2 or 10 o'clock work better? So you don't have to go as verbose as I did, but the concept still remains the same. I'm selling how easy it is to set the appointment. Focus on that when you're setting appointments. And always assume these people are going to rebuttal. All right, be ready. Object. Always be ready to rebuttal. Always be right on the tip of your tongue. You know exactly that they're going to give you a hard time. And always be ready to shoot off that script and that reference pattern, because it's going to be the same every time, because ultimately what they're going to say is just kind of a knee-jerk reaction. You got to think this way, because what you're really trying to get overcoming is selling that appointment and making it very easy to get in front of them. So that's tip number 2. Hey, Harvey. So tip number 3 is let's talk about some calling strategies. So this relates more to how you're setting the appointments more than anything. So, for example, if you're not using a cell phone or a landline, make sure that you're using a high-quality voice over internet protocol, VoIP type of phone setup. This is very, very, very important. Skype, Google Voice are very low quality. That's why they're basically close to being free. And that stuff messes with our prospects when we're calling them. So be very sensitive to how you sound over the phone. You must be clear. You must be easily understood, because we're dealing with seniors here who all have hearing problems. And you need to make sure that what you're saying is easily understood, because confusion exacerbates frustration, which ends up having more hang-ups and stuff like that than otherwise you do. So what do you do if you're not wanting to use your cell phone or give your personal information out? So there's a company called Callcentric. This is what one of my appointment setters does. He is able to get all the VoIP stuff set up through the phone. Not exactly how it works, for a small fee per month. He actually can go in there and buy zip code, or I should say area code specific phone numbers, and this is extremely important. If you're calling into a different area like I am, my area code's 423 in Tennessee. Across the border in Alabama, it's 256. I need a 256 number to call there, because it will lift the pickup rate substantially. So you can go in for a couple of bucks, buy a 256 number, and you're going to have a lot more people picking the phone up. Whereas think about it, if you see some oddball area code, you're probably not going to pick it up, and neither will I prospect. So it's worth the small investment to do that. So if you're calling right now and you got a different area code and you're wondering why aren't these people picking up, big difference if you buy a number and it's just a couple of dollars through one of these providers via the VoIP protocol setup. So do that. It's well worth the investment. Make sure you're using a high quality VoIP server so you can be understood clearly. Cannot stress it enough. If you're going to use a phone, a regular phone, make sure that people can hear you and understand what you're saying. It's much better if you take off the Bluetooth. It's much better if you take off the speakerphone when you're talking. I talk to agents all day, and some will have, you can tell they got the Bluetooth on. It sounds like they're talking in a tunnel, and they wouldn't know it. And so it's important just to make sure the quality is there. Make it as high quality as possible. Point number 4 here, always be asking for the appointment. Hold on one second, guys. I got to turn the old phone off here. This is pretty important too. I kind of mentioned it really already, but it's worth mentioning. when you're talking to somebody on the phone and you're catching them off guard and they've given you a knee-jerk reaction objection, it's important to understand that you're in charge and leading them to the process of eventually setting the appointment. And you've got to guide them from whatever they're saying, whether it's valid or not, or how much they believe that they already have insurance, therefore we don't need to meet. You need to be able to object it, rebuttal it, sell the appointment, and always close. The close is always the objection, or the objective of you, the final expense appointment setting guy. So you can't let, for example, if I rebuttal, I say, hey, this just takes 5 minutes. What you do is it's up to you, Ms. Jones. They're going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, well, I'm kind of busy tomorrow, because they don't know what you're quite saying. They're like, okay, they're agreeing that you're not going to high pressure them, but they don't know what to say next to that. You know, I mean, they'll drift off, and then they'll think, well, I'm just going to be busy. So you've got to feed them by closing and asking for the appointment specific times. And it's better to be specific as to the time versus the time of day. It's much better to say, would 10 o'clock work better, or would 2 be better? Or 10 o'clock or 2 be better for you? Versus would the morning or the afternoon work better? Because people think in the morning like, oh, I'm in bed, and then I got to go to the doctor, and then I got to go up to pay bills. Afternoon, oh, geez, I'm going to be gone all afternoon. Yeah, I'm going to be tired. I don't want anybody over. But they don't think that you think maybe you could work after 5 up to 8 or 9 o'clock. So you got to give specific times in the close, okay? So always after every rebuttal, ask for that appointment, preferably assuming the appointment at a specific time, 10 o'clock, or would 2 work better? And then point number 5 here is, what do you do when the lead says no? Okay, because you can go through all these objection rebuttals. You're still going to have people who say no to you that aren't necessarily going to buy anyway, or aren't going to set. And they've got their reasons. It may be the time of day or the conversation they just had with their spouse. We have no idea. But they did sit down and fill these cards out. They did respond to a telemarketing ad. They did do something constructive. Therefore, you don't want to give up on these people too quickly. Okay, so a couple of scenarios where you want to continue the conversation to go over these. So first of all, if you call and there's 2 people, a husband and a wife listed, if you call, and if you notice on the card, or even on the phone, if you got a telemarketing lead and it lists the husband, but the wife picks up, and she says, I'm not interested in this crap, see you later, and you've tried. Well, don't throw that away, because if the husband is mentioned on the mailing piece, many times he was the one that read it and filled it out. Or if it was the person who talked on the telemarketing line, but now the spouse answered, that's the person you want to talk to, is the person who's on the list, the lead listed first, or alone. If somebody else picks up, it's a no to them, but it's not a no to the prospect. Again, we got to get to the right person, so don't throw a lead away because the wife said no. Because a lot of the times it just takes getting to the husband or the other spouse to be able to get in the door and then change their opinion entirely. Because sometimes these people don't know what their spouses did. They get this call and they're like, this guy wants some burial insurance. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. The spouse says, I told you I sent that off. What are you doing? Oh, darn it. I'm sorry, honey. Stuff like that happens all the time. So just put a note on it, call it in a couple days, but ask specifically for the husband. And if they say, he's not here, what can I do for you? Say, hey, that's fine. I'll call back later. When is he going to be there? Just get off the phone. Don't talk anymore to remind them you already called once before. But keep trying for that spouse. That's the key thing there. So what if they hang up on you before finishing? So let me tell you a quick story. I had an appointment setter that specifically put in the notes probably 4 years ago. She said, rude lady hung up before I even finished my call. And I thought, well, that's dumb. She hung up on her and didn't even know what the whole thing was about. So I grabbed the lead. I slid on down. It was over in Brainerd, which is a part of town in Chattanooga. Pulled in the driveway, knocked on the door. And she opened the door, and there's like a screen door on front, right? She peers out of it looking at me. Said, what can I do for you? I said, ma'am, my name's David. I'm here because you sent this card back. You requested information on our final expense programs. And she looked at it, and she says, what did she say? She said, hold on, I'll be right back. And she was just kind of grouchy and shut the door in my face. I was like, okay. Then she came back out. She had her coat over her moo-moo she had on. She said, you sit down right there. And I said, okay. And she said, the first problem is you're a male. The second problem is you're a salesperson. That's the first thing she said when we sat down. I said, I'm sorry. I said, let me show you my license. And I'm a licensed agent. She said, you could have printed off 100 of these at FedEx. So I was like, well, I don't know what to say to that. But hey, the reason I'm here is I went into my script. I closed the lady. It turns out I sold her like a $60 a month deal. And I was thrilled. And what had happened was I found out that she was a caretaker for her mother who had severe Alzheimer's. And imagine if maybe you've been in this position taking care of a relative who has cognitive memory issues. It's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job. It's stressful. You have no capacity or minimal capacity to handle people like us, salespeople, trying to sell them something. So you kick the dog, proverbially speaking. You are the dog to be kicked. And so we have to understand that if somebody hangs up on you like that, they don't know what they've hung up on. And what's even better is if you show up and don't even mention the phone call, they're probably going to be a lot nicer to you in person anyway, as you'll find out in this business. If you haven't already, people are 100 times nicer when you show up at their house because of a card they sent in, especially when you tell them it's your job to show up. Hey, we tried calling you, you didn't pick up the phone or something like that. People aren't going to yell and scream at you unless they're just jerks. And with their jerks, you're not going to do anything about that anyway. So, moral of the story, don't let a hang up mid-sentence or even before you complete your thought deter you from just door knocking them. If you don't feel good about door knocking them right away, no problem, give it a week. Show up, I promise you 9 out of 10 will not remember the phone call because they get these calls all the time. You're one of many. What about people who are tough on the phone? This was, I just wanted to make a note here, which I kind of did. People are tough on the phone much more often than they are in person. People are pussycats in person. If you show up and you're nice, you make eye contact with them, you come off as genuinely a nice guy, people reciprocate in like kind. If you're an ass, then they will be an ass. It just seems to be that over the phone there's a lot less, formality and politeness. It's almost like people on the internet are easy to be trolls and rude and disgusting online and making horrible comments about people they don't know, versus when you get to them face to face, people are a lot more civil and a little bit more understanding. It's the same in this business. If you show up, you got a card in hand, they're not going to give you nearly as hard a time. So if you get that stuff on the phone, then just show up. Again, what are they going to tell you? A lot of them will respect you because you've got the balls to show up and help them out. And the worst they're going to do is just tell you no again. Not going to shoot you or anything, and nothing like that ever happens in this business. And then lastly here, what if they never pick up the phone? So I've had numerous leads that have taken months before getting into and then finally selling them. There's all sorts of reasons people don't pick up the phone. They could be in rehabilitative care. They could be traveling. They could be out of the country, out of the state. They could just be somewhere that is not at their home. And it's not something you should avoid. You shouldn't kill a lead because they never pick up. You never want to disposition a lead until you get a firm yes or no, at the very minimum. If you continue to call like this and they never pick up, this is the percentage of leads that everybody deals with that you have to door knock if you even want a chance really to sell them. It'd be a lot easier to just tell you to take those leads and show up, because what you could tell them at the door is say, hey, look, I'm so sorry for showing up. I usually don't do this, but I tried calling you several times over the past month, and it's just my job. It's very important that I get this to you. I didn't want to wait or delay any longer. Can I have 5 minutes to show you what I do? So you can just apologize from the beginning, and people let their guard down when you have humility. And, hey, I'm sorry. I tried calling, and would prefer to do that than just drive out to see you, but it's my job. So that usually goes pretty far as well. So that is pretty much it for the 5 appointment setting strategies that work. The key takeaways here, guys, is, set the appointment, sell the appointment, don't sell the product. Make sure that you're using a high-quality phone that you can be understood. Some of this sounds elementary, but the fundamentals are the fundamentals after all. Make sure that you're doing it. Always close for every time you rebuttal an objection. Very, very important. And never get rid of a lead till you at least try to door knock it. And let them tell you no to your face. Usually you get a much better reception face-to-face, much more opportunity to get in the door and get more results out of it. Harvey, got a question here from you, sir. And if you guys have any questions at this point, feel free to post them down here in the comment box. Be happy to address them. So, question here is, how do we open when making a call from a mailer? Do we say we're selling final expense, or should we say something different? Good question. So this is, again, one of those points that, depending on the agent, they are going to be right or they're wrong. Just depends. But let me tell you what I would recommend. So, and you can find this on the training website. Harvey, if you go under the sales training tab in the university website, there's probably about 10 to 15 videos of an agent of mine calling and setting appointments live. Very good instruction, and it'll show you what he does and actually show you live how it's successful. Essentially, what I recommend is when you call and you ask for the person who is addressed in the card, not the spouse per se, but that specific person is mailed to. Mrs. Jones. Is this Mrs. Jones? Yes, great. My name is David Duford, and the reason I'm calling you today is because you sent this card back requesting information about final expense programs. I'm the guy that handles that in this area. My job is to deliver the information that you requested, and I'm going to be in your area tomorrow and wondered if 10 o'clock or 2 would work better for you. So that's basically it. I say final expense program. Some people say, they don't even say final expense. You send a postcard back requesting some information about our final, they'll say something a little even more generic. State regulated burial programs. Some people will be specific and they'll say you request information about life insurance. The best thing you can do is look at what the card says. When it says, usually it opens up and says you may qualify for state regulated life insurance or state regulated programs or final expense programs. Just use the verbiage that's used in the card, because that's what caused them to send the card back, and that's a little bit more accurate. That's what I would recommend you to do, is do that. However, the more specific you do, the more specific you are, the less appointments you'll set. There's kind of a balance between specificity and vagueness. You're not going to want to sell the product over the phone, but at the same time, you want to make sure they understand about final expense. That's why I say you send a card back about final expense programs. That's how I reference it. If you need me to clarify that, feel free to type a comment in the box, and I'll be happy to build on that. Hey, Ken, how you doing? For Ken asked for an in-home presentation. What do you say to the person, the tire kicker, who doesn't want to buy but wants a quote to compare prices and policies? Go through the process or just pack it up? So let me take you through, let me think through this. So it depends on when the question is asked, Ken. So if I ask him, if you remember how I teach the presentation, I eventually, in the pre-qualification stage, I'll say, well, what are your thoughts and concerns when you sent this card back? So if they say, well, I just want some prices and see what's out there and stuff, that's fine. That's fine. That may mean that's all he wants. It doesn't mean he won't buy. That's the thing you got to take away from that is, he may not want to buy. How could he, let me rephrase. How does he know he doesn't want to buy, right? He's just saying that because this is what we call a knee-jerk objection. When somebody says, I'm just looking, I'm not buying, I need to think about this, before you even ask them why they sent the card in, or before you even describe, how can they make a decision either way until they know all the facts, right? It's kind of a silly statement to make, but it's made out of this kind of salesman fear or this resistance to being high pressured. All you have to do is just acknowledge it, say, that's fine, Mrs. Jones. So back to what I was saying. What were your thoughts and concerns when you sent the card in? And then just go through your presentation. Now, you should be able to knock these people out if you follow my way of doing this sometime within the pre-qualification stage. Maybe you do get to a price range and you give them a range and then they can't afford it. Now you know that they can't buy and they're really just not serious, or they don't give you a firm number on the pricing. You got to treat those kind of objections as knee-jerk. Acknowledge them, but just continue down. Now, if you hear this near the end, that's really just a true objection, or an objection that you need to start rebuttaling, but more likely than not, it's something that wasn't covered earlier on that you should have worked better at. Maybe you didn't dig enough into the need or their desire or their urgency. Because a lot of the times those questions or those objections at the end, once you try to figure them out, if they don't give you any specificity or engagement, they're just playing prospect for some reason. They're not being honest with you. It's hard hard to rebuttal people who aren't being honest. And so it just really depends. If you want to give me a little more specificity, Ken, as to when you hear it, is it in the beginning? Is it in the end? I can better address that, because it really depends in some circumstances. But you'll most likely hear it in the beginning. And the key is just to ignore it or acknowledge it and then just continue on. And let your presentation tell you whether or not you want to deal with them, if they fit your criteria, versus, taking what they say as, the gospel truth, because they really don't know what they're dealing with until you get to all your information. All right, let's see here. From Andrea. Hi, Dave. How do you ask for an appointment, an avatar appointment? Oh, I know for a direct mail lead, you say I'm calling. Okay, good question. So just everything's the exact same, except you say, hey, Mrs. Jones, my name is David Duford. The reason I'm calling is because we called you. You can look on, if you look on the avatar leads that we sell, you can look and see the date and the timestamp. You could say, we called you back on Friday at 5 o'clock, right around dinner, and you gave us permission to follow up with you regarding final expense programs for your burial reasons. And then just continue to set the appointment. I'm the agent that handles this. My job is to drop the information off to you. Everything else is the same. But you just reference it. We called you back on this day around this time about final expense programs you're interested in. And then continue on. If you have more questions, feel free to ask. Harvey asks, when door knocking with the lead in hand, do you just bring the file folder with all the paper? Good question, yeah. So what I do, I'm looking for my card. I just bring the clipboard. I carry all my paper stuff, like my leads, my schedule for the day. I clip it on a clipboard, and then I've got this accordion file, which isn't in here right now, but I think you've probably seen it before. Big, giant accordion file. I used to carry my stuff in a briefcase, and I realized if I was walking up to the door with all this crap in my hand and on an unannounced door knock, I don't want to scare these people off from answering the door. So what I do is I leave all of that back. I actually leave my car on. I leave my door open. Whether this does anything or not, I don't know. I'll be the first to tell you. But the perception I think it causes is that these people look out their door and they're thinking, this guy's not here forever. He's leaving his door open. Maybe he's just looking for directions. So people are more akin to answering the door when it looks like I'm about to leave after I knock on their door. So all I take is the clipboard, knock on the door, and then I just show them the clipboard. And then if they invite me in, I say, hey, hold on one second, let me shut my truck off. I'll run out to the truck, shut the truck off, then I'll get my big folder and come in with it, because I'm already in the door at this point. Hopefully that makes sense. Like I said, there's I think part of sales is, and guys, if you've got any more questions, feel free to ask them. If sales is psychological 90% of the time, we all do things that that help us mentally keep going. I don't know if this stuff works when it comes to the car on, truck door open and the car on and all this stuff, but it makes me feel better about it, because I think it delivers a message I want, and I feel more confident, and it's worth it if it's just for that reason alone. So I would recommend you to do the same. I think it could only help by leaving the big box of stuff that you carry around, or your bag or whatever, in the door, because it just doesn't look nearly as potentially intimidating. Harvey asked again, when door knocking with the lead. Oh, you did already. That's the same one there. Okay, you're just saying okay to that. Perfect. Cool. Well, very good, guys. I don't see any more questions here. If you guys have any questions, if you're watching this after the live stream, feel free to leave a question at the bottom. I try my best to answer every single question that appears on any of my videos. My whole reason for doing this video, as well as the rest of my videos, is I love to teach, I love to train, and I love to give away the knowledge that I gained through trial and error, so you don't make the big screw-ups I did in my career. Hopefully the goal is to save you some money and time, so you can get with it and get as successful as you can as quickly as possible, and bypass all the hazardous faults that I went through and paid through trial and error. So in the meantime, guys, my name is David Duford. Again, if you're interested in anything that we do at Final Expense Agent Mentor, check my website out. It's feagentmentor.com. If you're interested in joining the mentorship program, just click on the contact box, send me a submission form. be more than happy to reach out to you, show you what you need to do to take the next steps to potentially joining. If you're interested in Facebook leads, feel free to check out down here at the bottom. There's a link to the Facebook lead page where you can make an order, watch the video listed as well that gives you more information. Other than that, thank you guys for joining. I really enjoyed this conversation today. Glad I could help some of you out. And if I can do anything for you, you know where to reach me. We'll see you next week live on YouTube at 12 p.m. Eastern. Talk to you later. Bye, guys.